everyone, reporting here some of the things that learning at ACR, the American College of Rheumatology 2025, as part of our Go With Us to Conferences program. I wanted to share a little tidbit of a theme that I'm seeing emerging here, which is a revisit to using methotrexate, which is a disease-modifying agent that is often used as a step before advancing to biologics. However, as you may realize, biologics are very expensive medication, and there's a lot of concern about cost in the healthcare systems all over the world. And so there's been a lot of research I've been seeing shown on almost a reminder of the efficacy of methotrexate in certain populations. It is still very widely believed because data has shown that the early intervention, especially on patients that have high inflammation markers, rheumatoid factor positive, certain biomarkers that suggest that they're going to have worse outcomes than treating earlier with biologics as opposed to staying on these DMARDs like a methotrexate. However, there was one session that I went to, it was difficult to treat cases on rheumatoid arthritis, and it was sort of like a pop quiz that asked, what would you do? What would you treat them with? And the researcher, rheumatologist, has been around for many, many years, and he kept making jokes saying, well, you all won't even remember this, but so very informative and kind of took us back on a journey of research that's happened over many decades. And he brought back a study on minocycline, which I guess used to be used in rheumatoid arthritis. A DMARD that's not popular anymore, but just reminding some of the statistics and how it sort of was pulled away from the treatment protocol after other drugs in the 1970s, like tetracycline, which is like an antibiotic. There was a lot of issues with that, and with their close similarity and relationship, they sort of went off the path. But the point in saying that is they were talking about just the revisitation of DMARDs and looking back at old research and not getting ourselves always looking biologic forward immediately for everybody. And I'm sorry, I've got my notes right here, so that's what you see here in the corner. And saying that, he also wanted to remind the rheumatologists in the office that there is IV version of methotrexate, and he was really encouraging revisiting that. There were some studies that are showing that a significant amount of patients, once they're on methotrexate, if they're on an oral, they'll plateau out after you get to a certain milligram. And with the IV version of methotrexate, that the numbers tend to go up and they don't plateau. So it was more of a reminder of potentially thinking more about methotrexate, in particular the IV version, and certain patients that may not have as severe of disease. So that came up. And then another session that I was in earlier today, also talking about methotrexate, but particularly in seronegative rheumatoid arthritis. So that means blood work is coming back negative. We don't have any elevated markers. They call that seronegative, and seronegative rheumatoid arthritis in particular, which is something that a lot of patients are diagnosed with. I'll say that not all rheumatologists had historically believed in such a thing, but it seems to be coming up as a real thing, which is great to people who hear you can't have rheumatoid arthritis because your blood work looks fine. You actually can. It's called seronegative rheumatoid arthritis. So there is a biomarker that has been identified, and we're not mentioning specifically what it is. We're not trying to promote the specific biomarker, but there is a biomarker and a test that is coming out, or it is out. And in addition to it being positive in people who are diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis without any other of those traditional biomarkers like rheumatoid factor positive, etc. And so that is helping to justify, if you will, diagnosis, but also in studies with methotrexate, these patients who have no positive labs, blood work, with the exception of this one biomarker, those with that biomarker who are seronegative RA respond almost twice as much in a positive way to methotrexate, whereas those who do not have this biomarker do not. So it's an example also of using testing to be able to match patients to treatments earlier. So just a little bit about, we talk a lot about the science of biologics, and what we've really realized, I guess, over the last few years is we've seen a lot of research that's trying to do intervention with biologics early, even before onset, like a prevention type of thing. But we're also now seeing, let's also, now that we're getting the research on that, we're starting to understand what works, what doesn't work, when to match patients and when not to. Don't forget that there's a lot of tools in the toolbox. So there you go.